Alrighty, so I've just finished watching the second of three Sunday game that is happening today, and apparently we're not allowed to see a goal today. So yeah, hopefully that will change in the final game between Inter Miami versus the LA Galaxy, which at the time of this recording is gonna kick off in about an hour and a half, which gives me a perfect time to do the first part of the review of match week number one. And as I have done in the past before, I'm gonna be splitting the review of each match week into two parts. And in part number one, we're going to look at the first eight games, and that include the two matinee game that we saw on Saturday. But nevertheless, if you're the home team, this was a good week for you in terms of the opening weekend. In fact, if you actually attend a game, there's chances are that you saw your team either get a win or get a draw, and that really there was only one road team that was able to get a win so far at the time of this recording from the opening weekend. So yeah, sorry, Austin. But anyway, let us begin with the first game, which is Columbus and Atlanta United. So this was a game I talked about how I thought there was going to be tons of goal that is being scored, and yeah, it turns out there wasn't a lot of goals that was scored. In fact, again, I was kind of more surprised that this game actually featured more goals than this one. Though I will say that this game kind of played out very similar to what we saw in game one of the first round in the playoffs. And as much as how good this series was in the first round the playoffs last year. Game one was really a dud with the way that Columbus pretty much dominated that whole game, and in this one, it was kind of the case, especially in the first half. Now, early on, Columbus was on the front foot. Guzan would deny Cucho from close range before Russell Rowe would miss wide after a lightning counterattack. And then Guzan had a big mistake here where he basically hits this one right to a crew player, and then he made a save while he was outside the box. Now, normally that's definitely a sending off by the goalkeeper, but he got bailed out because the flag came up before the sequence, and I even wrote Guzan and Atlanta got left off the hook because if the flag didn't come up, Guzan would have been in serious trouble here. But the shots were 6-0 for Columbus 20 minutes in. I mean, they were dominating early in this one. So to no one surprise, they eventually take the lead. And guess who? It's Cucho Hernandez. So he kicked off the new season strong with a goal here to make it 1-0 in favor of Columbus. Little do we know that that would be the only goal that would be scored in this game. Schlutz then with Atlanta's first shot in the 33rd minute, but he hits it right to Shote before Cucho looked to have another one, but he puts one high from long range. And then the post would deny Russell Rowe from close range in the 38th minute. And as I said, it feels like it's very similar to game one, where it was all Columbus in this one. They were absolutely dominating this game, and Atlanta forgot that the regular season has already started. They're not the only team that forget that the regular season started in the first, as I will talk about how there's another team that also forgot about that for this opening week. Cucho then had a volley that was deflected high and wide in the 42nd minute, and we head to halftime with the crew leading 1-0. Now in the second half, Atlanta did start to show some fight back. Yakimakis would puts it wide from close range before a penalty was given to Columbus as VAR deemed that Gregerson brought down Forsey in the box. So for Stian Gregerson, who of course was made a DP, but they said that he can of course be bought down. Yeah, this is definitely not a great start in his career with Atlanta United, and I've said this before that he's got some big shoes to fill in terms of filling the shoes of Miles Robinson, and this one, this of him making that mistake of bringing down Farsi in the box. Yeah, not a great start to his career with Atlanta United, but he was bailed out because Guzan actually made a big save from the spot. He denied Cucho from the spot. That's the first penalty that Cucho Hernandez have missed, and this won't be the last time we're going to talk about penalty that is being missed because I think there was like four penalties this opening week so far, and only one of them was being made. It was not a good week for players to take penalty spot this week, and this was not a great penalty from Cucho Hernandez. I mean, he hits that pretty close to the middle, and Guzan just had to guess the right way and make a save there. Amada would then hits one right to Shote before Shote would absolutely rob Yakimakis from close range. And again, that penalty kick save, that really fired up Atlanta. They were looking to get themselves back into this game. I even said slowly and surely Atlanta started coming back into this game. But the question is, can they find that clinical finishing and get one past Patrick Shote? Though on the other end, Cucho would put one wide from close range before Rossi would put it high from close as the crew realized that, yeah, they better get the second goal and kill this game off before Atlanta have a chance to tie it up. But even though they didn't do so, they were still able to hold on to get the 1-0 win. As the shots in this one, 16 shots for the 6 that Atlanta has. Both teams had 3 shots on goal, 4 shots off target for the 1 that Atlanta has, 1 shot that was blocked for the 6 that Columbus had, and possession-wise 50% for both of these teams. And while it wasn't a vintage performance from the Columbus crew, they'll take it, getting all 3 points and getting their title defense off to a great start. But for Atlanta United, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're tired of facing the Columbus Crew. I mean, if they faced them now 4 straight time going back to last year, I'm pretty sure Atlanta does not want to see the team from Ohio and the team wearing black and yellow at least until the middle of the season. But now moving on, in the next match is LAFC versus Seattle Sounders. So again, if I would have told you that this game would have featured more goals than this one, I would be a surprise. And yeah, I was kind of surprised that this game did feature more goals. And for LAFC, while there were stretches that they were dominating this game, Seattle they show some fight back. And I think even though the Sounders lost this one, keep in mind they were without a couple of key starters in this game, and that includes Stephen Fry that did not play in this one. I think they'll be happy of the performance and the fight that they put out, especially their new DP signing. Boy, that Pedro de la Vega guy, that guy looked like a real deal. Now, early on, Lloris would deny Morris from close range before Oliveira would hit one right to Thomas. It was crazy how the start of this game. I mean, while we've seen this week that there are some games that start off slow, and it makes sense considering this is the first time a lot of these teams are playing competitive minute. This was not the case. I mean, it was all gun blazing from the beginning. Rui Diaz would then hit one right to Lloris, and again, feels like both of these teams were already in mid-season form. The pace of this game was very fast early on, and keep in mind this is also a matinee game too. So usually when you see matinee games, sometimes things could get a little bit slow from the beginning. Nope, it was all gas, no brakes early for both of these teams. Rui Diaz then had a shot that took a deflection and goes wide before Tillman on the other end hits it right to Thomas. So Andrew Thomas, of course, playing in his first game as a Seattle Sounders since Stephon Cleveland is no longer the backup. He's now with Austin FC. And then Nathan would clear Bawanga shots off the line in the 17th minute, and you just feel like the opening goal is coming with the way that both of these teams was pushing for it. Bawanga had another chance, but he hit the post from close range. Won't be the last time we've seen LAFC hit the post in this one. In fact, they hit the post 3 times in this game. Rui Diaz then hits one right to Lloris in the 25th minute before on the other end, Oliveira would hit it right to Thomas. Ilya would then be the next LAFC player to be victimized on by the post on the header. And again, I thought LAFC at this point started to take over this game. They were pressing for the opener as we wind down the halftime whistle. And they do get it in the 45th minute. It's Timothy Tillman. He scored from Campo to make it 1-0 in favor of LAFC. It's a great goal there from Timothy Tillman. The fact that he was able to hit it off the vault like that. But yeah, nevertheless, it was 1-0 in favor of LAFC. Bawanga looked to try to make it 2-0, but he hits this one right to Thomas before halftime, and we head to halftime with LAFC leading 1-0. In the second half, the post was denied. Bawanga again, the post was not LAFC best friend in this one, and certainly Bawaga's best friends as well because he's got victimized by the post for the second time in the 47th minute. But there was no doubt that LAFC shot out of the cannon. Like they picked up where they left off in the first half, pressing for a second goal. So on the other end, Atencio would puts it high from long range, and slowly Seattle started to getting into this game with the possession. But again, problem for Seattle, and this was a thing I've mentioned before in the season preview, how I am still a little concerned about how at times they're very anemic in the final third. We saw last season the reason why the Sounders were really struggling to score goals is that they just look very predictable in the final third, which is something we usually do not say about Brian Schmidt's team. But that being said, in the 55th minute, LAFC would make it 2-0. And apparently it's golazo only for LAFC today because Mateus Bogusz would score an absolute golazo for Bawanga to make it 2-0 for LAFC. I forgot to back the goal of the week with a question mark kind of next to these great goals because man, that was a great goal that Bogusz basically scored here. But yeah, that made it 2-0. But things got interesting in the 68th minute when a penalty was given to Seattle after VAR deemed that Long brought Morris down in the box. They took a long time to look at this, and I get the notion that yes, this is a replacement referee, and maybe they're taking a couple of more minutes just to make sure. But at the same time, as we see the rest of these games, some of these VA call wasn't really actually took very long. So I just wonder, is that maybe an excuse to say that the replacement referee probably should have done it quickly because they're very unfamiliar with these procedure, or the fact that is it just the this game and also this one too, because the penalty that was given to Columbus when they go to VAR, that took a long time as well, and this one took almost 4 minutes to do so, even though it was pretty obvious that Morris was brought down in the box there by Aaron Long, and it was. So yeah, a penalty was given to Seattle. De La Vega, he wastes no time to grab the ball. In fact, he already grabbed the ball before the call was being made, and keep in mind he also was substituted in this game not long ago. And when you, of course, grab the ball, you better make sure you put it in, and he does. So he buries that one to make it 2-1 in favor of LAFC. Definitely a great start for a guy that, man, he looked really good in this game. The fact that he can take on players like what we saw, I mean, this is going to be a scary player to watch in the Western Conference this year. Rodon then puts it high from close range as the momentum was now with Seattle. They looked at trying to get the equalizer. Rodon would hit one right to Lloris before Bawanga was in on goal there, but he missed that one wide there, and it feels like LAFC was kind of almost half bunkering and half trying to go on the transition because Seattle did start to man forward, and LAFC, we know this is a team that is very dangerous on the transition. And although they weren't able to get that third goal to kill this game off, they were able to hold on to win 2-1 against the Seattle Sounders. Shots in this one, 18 shots for the 15 that Seattle had, 7 shots on goal for the 8 that the Sounders had. Both teams had 3 shots off target, 6 shots that was blocked for the 4 that Seattle has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to the 46% possession that LAFC has in this game. So yeah, LAFC getting off to another good start. In fact, this is a 7 consecutive season that they are able to get a win in their season opener. That is a record in MLS in terms of the longest active winning streak for a season opener. But for the Seattle Sounders, I know they're disappointed that they didn't get the win, but I think it is definitely encouraging what we saw in the second half. And again, Pedro De La Vega, he is a guy that if he can bring that kind of energy throughout the rest of his time with the Seattle Sounders, watch out. They might have just found their Nico Ladero replacement for the future. But that being said, now moving on into the busy action of the Saturday night action, and we start off with the first of 8 games. Well, at least in this review, I'll do first of 6 games, that is, and actually it's technically not 8 games. I think it's technically 9 games that happen on Saturday night. But the first one we'll talk about is Charlotte versus NYCFC. So as I mentioned in the season preview, or not in the season preview, but the match preview of this opening weekend, NYCFC have not been able to solve Charlotte so far. I mean, Charlotte has been undefeated against NYCFC, and that kind of continue after this game, getting the 1-0 win, and the goal that Charlotte scored came very early. In the third minute, Jaguar would puts it high from long range before Freeze would deny Urso after he spilled the catch there. Yeah, he was very shaky, Matt Freeze, early in this one. And then in the 8th minute, Charlotte would take the lead. It's Melenda that scores the goal to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead. They originally gave this to Tavares, but it looked like when Tavares basically hits that one, and when it hits the post and bounced down, the ball didn't cross the line there. Now, fortunately for Melenda, he basically makes sure that one goes in, and that's why they gave the goal credit to Melenda, even though everybody was celebrating with Tavares, the fact that everybody thought that he was the one that got the goal there. But nevertheless, it gives Charlotte a 1-0 lead in this one. By the way, 60,000 plus showed up for this game. It was a really good atmosphere at Bank of America Stadium in this one. And again, it was a dream start for Dean Smith debut here, seeing his team go up 1-0 early in this one. Though Bakra did look to respond for NYCFC, but he missed wide in the 13th minute, and then Capetti just could not stab one in after just an errant pass from NYCFC. NYCFC was very sloppy in this game, and they were another team that forgot that the regular season started, and it feels like it's similar to last year where they just have nothing going for them on the attacking end. And again, I even said for the second season in a row, NYCFC looked like they were flat coming out of the season opener. Though that being said, in the 35th minute, Kalina did deny Fernandez from close range, and we head to halftime with Charlotte leading 1-0. in the second half, Jagger would puts it wide after just another their bad turnover from NYCFC. There was a lot of that in this game for this NYCFC defense. And then a penalty was given to Charlotte after VAR deemed that 0-2 handball this one in the box. Yeah, that was pretty obvious that was a handball. And again, it took a while for them to decide this call, but by the time they decided this call, Vargas was ready to take the penalty, but Freeze comes up big to save it. And again, Kareem Vargas has not been great in terms of taking penalties from the spot. I'm surprised that he's still the regular penalty kick taker for the Charlotte team, but yeah, this one was not a great was not a great penalty. It was kind of hit similar to the one we saw Cucho miss earlier against Atlanta United, and Freeze just had to get this the right way and save that one. Urso then hits one right to Freeze in the 69th minute before Freeze denied Vargas from close range in the 76th minute. And I thought that, as much as Charlotte are getting a lot of chances, you wonder will them not getting that second goal to come back to haunt them. We saw this last season under Christian Latanzio. This team always tends to blow lead late in the game, and you just feel like, I know they're under a new head coach in Dean Smith, but there's always that narrative of not getting that second goal, and especially with the way that they kind of gone defensive again under Dean Smith. I'm pretty sure this is where Charlotte fans are starting to get deja vu from last season all over again, because Rodriguez would miss an absolute sitter from close range. I mean, that's one that Santi Rodriguez would absolutely want to have back. And then Magno would puts one right to Kalina in the 84th minute. And as I said, Charlotte fans, they were holding their breath because they seen this story before of them going defensive and just trying to hold on to a 1-0 lead. And I've said many times before, that usually doesn't work in this league, no matter if you're playing at home or on the road. But for NYCFC, they finally woke up and they were looking to push for the equalizer. But right at the end, Brish Sheemith, which become one of the youngest player to appear in an MLS game, making his debut just a couple of minutes ago. He tried to finish this one, but he puts a weak shot right to Matt Freeze. And yeah, in the end, Charlotte, despite the fact that they did kind of have to hold on for a bit, they pull off a 1-0 win against NYCFC. And the shots in this one, 11 shots for the 10 that Charlotte had. 6 shots on goal for the 3 that NYCFC had. 4 shots off target for the 2 that Charlotte has. No shots that was blocked for the 4 that NYCFC had. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to the 42% possession that Charlotte has. And again, for Dean Smith and Charlotte, a great start to his time getting all 3 points and getting a win against a team that they seems to own them so far in their early life in MLS. But for NYCFC, I mean, I know the pressure is going to already be there for Nick Cushing. I mean, I know it's one game, and I know NYCFC fans will easily overreact and say that, well, this looks like something similar to last season where they look clueless going for on the attack. But yeah, I mean, this game with the way that for almost 60 plus minute where they look flat, not gonna do Nick Cushing any favor in terms of facing that hot seat and feeling the pressure of the fact that he could potentially get fired if they don't get off to a good start just like they did in this game. But now moving on in the next match is DC and New England. So, as I mentioned in the Portland versus Colorado game, it was a battle between two head coaches making their debut for their respective team. This was kind of another one of those that I think I didn't mention in my match review of match week number 1. And in the end, the in a battle between two head coach making their debut for their respective team, it was Troy Lesesne, the one that gets the debut win over Caleb Porter in this one with a 3-1 win, and it was a big night for Christian Benteke too. In the first half, not much happened early in this one as there was only one shot through 15 minutes into this game. Bono would absolutely rob Heel from point blank at first, so there was question mark about the goalkeeping position for this DC team, but I thought Alex Bono had a really good game in this one. But you know who didn't have a good game in this one? Giacomo Baroni, because in the 25th minute, in a season where, as I said before, this has got to be the year that Veroni breaks out and pay up to the DP tag that he was labeled a couple years ago. Well, this is a nightmare way for that to begin because he would get a second yellow card in the 25th minute. So yeah, not only the fact that he is done for this game and that New England's down to 10 men, he's not going to be available in the next game. And for some Revs fan, maybe they'll say that that might be a good thing. Consider how things have gone for Veroni doing his time with New England, and DC wastes no time to capitalize that. As in the 34th minute, Benteke would score from Santos to make it 1-0 in favor of DC. Ravis actually made the save on this one when Benteke hits it, but it looked like when Ravis makes the save, the ball already crossed the line, and it was not by much. I'm surprised that they didn't take that long to look at this and consider some other VAR that took a while for them to look at. They didn't take very long to look at this one, and they said that, yep, the ball crossed the line before the keeper makes the save, and that gives DC a 1-0 lead. In the 40th minute, Petola would miss it wide from long range in the 40th minute before the post would deny Benteke on the header. I mean, Benteke and heading goal, that seems like was the story of this game too, and it's been kind of the story for him during his time with DC and really throughout his career. He's always been very lethal in the air. But again, it's been all DC ever since the red card, ever since the man advantage. But it's only a 1-0 lead heading into the second half, and that would be huge because after in the 48th minute there was no penalty that was given to the refs after VAR deemed that Santos uh, foul is mere outside the box. Bono had to deny heel from the free kick, and all of a sudden New England they woke up, and that I think that even though they were down to 10 men, the Rams feel like, hey, why not have a go at it, see if they can get that equalizer. Though on the other end, Ravis would deny Click from close range before the post, denying Perini from close as DC started to get some chances again. But then in the 67th minute, New England ties it. It's Carlos Hill. He scored from poster to tie the game up at one apiece, and that was vintage Carlos Hill. I mean, we know how good he is scoring from outside the box in those curling kind of shot, and that was just vintage Carlos Hill kind of curler into the back of the net to tie the game up at one apiece. But it did not stay tied for long because there's that man again, Christian Benteke. He scored from Entely to make it 2-1 in favor of DC, and Ravis, I know, no, there's also going to be that overreaction for New England fans about how Ravis definitely had himself a nightmare game, and that he's not the answer in terms of trying to carry the weight that both Matt Turner and Georgi Petrovic left. But you got to remember, both Petrovic and Turner had a rocky start in their career at New England. So yeah, I mean, I know it was kind of a nightmare game for Ravis with the way that this was one that Benteke, even though he was able to hit this one in the air, it wasn't really headed with a lot of power, and I feel like that's one that Ravis got to save, especially kind of sneak under his leg and into the back of the net. That's one that goalkeepers will immediately say that they want to have that back. So yeah, that give the lead back for DC to make it 2-1. Shankalai did look to respond, but he puts that one high before Click puts it wide on the free kick as DC was looking for that third goal to kill this game off, and they do. As in the 4th minute, we saw the first hat trick of the game as Benteke scored from Herrera to make it 3-1. So again, not only we saw a first hat trick, but we also saw the first red card of the game with Veroni getting himself a second yellow, and to this day, this is still the only red card that we have saw so far in this match week. But yeah, we saw the first hat trick of this one. But again, this is one that Ravis absolutely should have done better here. I mean, when you're a goalkeeper and you're basically trying to contest to punch the ball away, you have to get there first, because if you don't get there first, I mean, that's just not going to be great goalkeeping. And here, Ravis was late off his lines, couldn't get there in time before Benteke hits it, and yeah, just like that kills the game off for DC. They get the win in this one, as the shots in this one, believe it or not, DC had 31 shots in this game compared to the 10 that New England has. But this is where the wacky facts begin. Both teams actually had 5 shots on goal. It's hard to believe that DC had 31 shots in this one, and only 5 of them was on goal. And they only had 7 shots that was off target compared to 2. So 12 of their shots out of 31 was actually either shots on goal and shots off target. And this is where the crazy fact begin. They had 17 shots that was blocked. That has to be a record in terms of the most shots blocked a team has had in a single game. I mean, those Revs defender, they must have to go through that cold ice bath a lot after the game, because they were blocking a lot of shots in this one. 17 shots compared to just 3 that New England has in possession-wise. 56% possession compared to 41%, or actually no, 44% possession. The math doesn't add up up there, and I think it's actually 44% possession instead of 41 that I wrote that. But yeah, for DC again, they get the win in this one. They always tend to always get off to a good start in the season, and they did it again this year as well. But for New England, again, this is kind of the case we've seen with a lot of teams in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, especially in the first round in the beginning of the season. They're always aren't really up for it in the first game of the season because after playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and especially after getting a big win, you will definitely suffer a bit of a letdown in the first game, and especially the travel as well. That could plays to a factor, and maybe that of course plays to a factor for New England in this one too. Though also it kind of doesn't help the fact that they were down to 10 men for pretty much 65 minutes in this one. With that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last four games in part one of this review, where I look at the first eight games from the opening weekend of the 2024 MLS regular season match. And also just to talk about how all these teams that play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup in the first round just a couple of days ago, it turns out that no team that play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup in the first round was able to get a win on the opening weekend. So again, that just kind of further reiterate how it is really tough for these teams to go down to Central America, or in Orlando City case, going down to Vancouver Island, and then have to travel back for a match game to be really up for it and also have that fitness. And speaking of which, moving on into the next one, we got Orlando versus Montreal, and I would say that I think for this game, this kind of is almost similar to the problem that Orlando City had last season, at least in the early part of the season, where you can see the ideas that this team bring, and I know Oscar Pereira tends to love to play that beautiful soccer that we see his team can do. But when they get to the final third, that's been the issue, at least in the early part of the season. And lo and behold, that was kind of the problem throughout this game too, where they just look a little lackluster when they get to that final third. Though early on, it was actually Montreal, the one that were more up for it in this game. As in the second minute, Kokero would hit one right to Galese before Duke would hit one right to Galese in the third minute. And again, Montreal, they came out strong. And this is what happened when you have playing under a new head coach in Laurent Courtois, and that I'm pretty sure these Montreal players, they want to impress their new boss from the get go, so they're gonna really go at it in the first couple of minutes. In the fifth minute, Galese would deny Lassiter, but it actually fall right to Kakero, and Galese had to make another save to deny him as well. And we're not even 5 minutes into this game, and Montreal already had four shots on goal, and Galese already had to make four save in this one. That's how fast all of a start that Montreal has, and this is where I'm thinking, well, this is not a big surprise because this is going to be something we're going to see with Montreal this season, especially under Laurent Courtois, trying to bring back that Wilfred Nancy brand of soccer. And we know that brand of soccer that Wilfred Nancy played is very entertaining, and we're definitely seeing it early for Montreal. Now, unfortunately, it didn't last for the rest of the game. In fact, four of their five shots on goal in this game turns out happened in the first 5 minutes in this one. And again, things did start to slow down, and not much really happened as the pace of this game kind of slowed down. Arujo would blast one high from long range. Apparently, they pronounce it said Arujo in this one, so I'm gonna pronounce it that. Siwas then denied for Holston as the flag went up in the 37th minute. And again, Orlando, they started to get into this game after kind of maybe got punched in the mouth early in this one. Brekalo would then hits one right to Siwas in the 44th minute, and we head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. Now in the second half, I thought Orlando started the second half more positive, but can they be better in the final third? Which again, that would be the answer of that is definitely no. In the 63rd minute, for Holson would flick one right to Siwas as the flag went up. That was a nice flick there from Dagger Dan for Holson. He was actually the most dangerous player for Orlando City on the attack, and no disrespect to Dagger Dan for Holson. I really like him as a player. But yeah, if for Holson is your most dangerous player for Orlando City, especially when you have weapons on the attack like Facundo Torres and Duncan McGuire, yeah, you have serious problem in the final third. And speaking of which, notice I haven't mentioned both Facu Torres and Duncan McGuire right now. They were very quiet in this game. In the 66th minute, the father was summoned. So Joseph Martinez, of course, now with Montreal, he was subbed in into this one. I'm pretty sure some forget that Joseph Martinez is still in this league and now he's playing for Montreal. Orlando fans definitely did not forget him because when he was subbed in, he was definitely serenaded by Orlando fans, and I'm pretty sure Orlando fans were happy to see the father return to Orlando City. But 75 minutes into this game, again, Orlando, they just look flat whenever they get into the final third. Again, I get the ideas, what they're trying to do. They just don't have that execution in the final third. And again, for Holson was really their most dangerous player. He hits one onto the roof of the net before he blasts one pretty much into the Caribbean Sea. And then the 79th minute, Martinez would miss wide despite being wide open in the box. If this was Joseph Martinez back in his day with Atlanta United, that's in the back of it every single time. But because of the fact that Joseph Martinez has not been the same since his torn ACL injury, it's not a big surprise that he missed that one wide there. But then in the 81st minute, it looked like Orlando took the lead as Felipe would put it into the back of the net. The problem was the goal was disallowed for offside, and it's the right call. I mean, when that ball bounced off the post there, you can see there was actually two Orlando player that was in an offside position. Felipe was one of them, and yeah, when the ball bounces off the post and you're in an offside position, yeah, that's gonna be a call offside every single time. But as the time winds down, Orlando continued to push for the winner. Montreal was looking to try to play for a draw. Siwas would deny Torres, but it was recycled to Ojeda, and he was also denied by Siwas. And then it faltered for Holson too, but he hits it right to Siwas. So again, that was an incredible sequence there, but that sequence kind of just shows you that it's just not going to be Orlando's night tonight in terms of their finishing. But then on the other end, Montreal had a chance to get a smash and grab win as Opoku was clean on goal there, but Pelese with a big save here to rob Opoku, who was clean on goal there. I'm pretty sure Mahala Opoku would want to have that one back, and that actually turns out to be the first shot on goal that they had since the 5th minute in this game. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 0-0 draw on this one. Shots in this one, 16 shots with the 8 that Montreal has, but Montreal had more of the shots. 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that Orlando City has. 5 shots off target for the 2 that Montreal has. 1 shot was blocked for the 5 that Orlando City has. And possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that Montreal has in this game. And while Montreal didn't get a goal in this one, they kept a clean sheet, and I think that's going to be something that Laurent Courtois will be very happy with this team, especially facing against an Orlando team that is a really good team. But for Orlando City, again, this is the problem we saw in the beginning of last season, and that I also will say that overreaction is that they're gonna get off to another slow start like they did last season. But again, I think maybe that has something to do with them playing the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and after getting that big win against Calvary, it's always hard to replicate that and come back on a short week rest. And that's goes the same for the Philadelphia Union as well. Though I will say this, out of all the teams that play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, I think the Union was probably the most impressive out of all of them, despite not getting the win. Because yeah, in this game again, Chicago, it was a chance for them to break the narrative and get a massive win to really send a message to the rest of the league that this is not a team to be messed with, and they're done of being the laughing stock in the league. And then yeah, there's a reason why the Chicago Fire has this curse of them not making the playoffs for a long time and have this decade-long struggle, because just as you thought that maybe they turn a corner, yeah, things happen. And also, let's also not to mention that this game was absolutely bonkers after the 80 minutes. I mean, it feels like defense basically completely checked out after the 80th minute, and this is where we saw MLS After Dark returns in the opening weekend. But early on, and this is very sad to see. So Andrew Guzman, of course, playing now for the Chicago Fire and returning back to his boyhood club. He had to be subbed off just 3 minutes into the season, and Gaspard had to replace him. And let's just hope it's nothing serious, because it's one thing to suffer an injury early in the game, but it's another to do it literally in the first game of the season. Like, that has to be a heartbreaker for any players that they've trained so hard to get themselves match fitness before the beginning of the season, and you suffer an injury just 2 minutes into this game. So yeah, certainly hope whatever injury Andrew Guzman suffers is not serious, and if it is serious, I wish him a speedy recovery. That is a brutal way to to kick off your season. But there was no doubt the Union was on the front foot, but they weren't really doing much despite being on the front foot. There was no shots throughout the first 15 minutes of this game. I mean, if you would have missed the last 20 minutes of this game because you thought that this game was boring, I definitely send my condolences because yeah, the first 30 minutes of this game did not represent what we saw late in this one. In fact, in the 28th minute, the first shot of the game sees Gutierrez heads it wide before Gastak tried to stab it in the back post in, but he missed wide as the flag went up. But then in the 39th minute, Chicago takes the lead. It's Gutierrez. He scored from Herberts to make it 1-0 in favor of the Fire. Again, as I mentioned before, I really like how the Fire did this offseason in terms of making the signings, but also I've already seen them play once in preseason in the Coachella Valley Invitational, and they look very scary on the attack. And this is an example of it. A great setup there for the Fire, and even a better finish from Gutierrez. Though you maybe could question that maybe the Union should have done a better job in terms of closing down a player like Ryan Gutierrez. That is, but yeah, that gives the Fire a 1-0 lead. That would be the scoreline heading into halftime. But that score looked like it was going to change in the 49th minute when Gastak puts the ball into the back of net. But VAR says no. They just allowed that goal for offside, and then the post would deny Sullivan from long range in the 50th minute. And the Union, they look like they've been re-energized and look like this is a shades of what we saw against Saprissa, where after the first half where it was a relatively flat, they were looking to get the equalizer and look like they were their old self, and they got the equalizer in the 56th minute. It's Mike Uru. He scored from Sullivan to make it 1-0, or not 1-0, but that ties the game up at one apiece. That has to feel good for Mikel Uru. I mean, he's a guy that there's some big expectation after a bit of a letdown season last year, so that has to feel good that he's finally got a goal under his belt in the first season. Haile Selassie did look to answer, but he missed wide in the 61st minute. And then Brady would deny Sullivan from close range. Quinn Sullivan was everywhere in this one. He was torching that Fire's defense throughout the game, and also, no pun intended, that is. Kuipers then missed wide on the header in the 78th minute, but then in the 82nd minute, Chicago retake the lead. It's Fabian Herbert scoring from Gutierrez to make it 2-1 in favor of the Fire. So in the first half, we saw Gutierrez scoring from Herbert. Feels like it's a reverse role. It's now Gutierrez that returns the favor in terms of getting an assist, and Herbert's the one that gets the goal here to give the Fire a 2-1 lead. And this is where I wrote. This is where we're gonna see if the Fire has turned the page. Is the narrative of them always find ways to make boneheaded play to blow a lead is going to happen? And well, it looked like at first that narrative quickly continued, because in the 84th minute, literally just 2 minutes after they took the lead, and literally after I just wrote that, yeah, Nathan Hario put the ball into the back net. Good news for the Fire is that the goal was disallowed for offside on the attacking sequence too. So yeah, the Fire still has the lead there, but unfortunately that was gone for good in the second minute of stoppage time. As in the second minute of stoppage time, Gastek would score for Martinez to tie the game up at two apiece. Again, this is where this game just gone completely off the rails. Like, this is where defense basically was not a thing whatsoever for both of these teams. And Iron Man Row, new year, same Fire, because this feels like something we've seen in the past with the Chicago Fire. It just feels like they're so close of getting a big win, and then they somehow find ways to blow it. But that was just the beginning of the madness, because then in the fourth minute of stoppage time, Uru would struck the post despite being wide open in the back post there. So yeah, Mikel Uru, after getting that goal in the 56th minute, it feels like, at times where he's been snake bitten last season, kind of that carry over into this year, because yeah, that's one that Mikel Uru absolutely should have scored. And another guy that is also snake bitten, it's Tom Barlow. So he was in on goal there, which I think if you're a Fire fan, that was probably the last player you hoped to be in on goal, because Tom Barlow's not going to score, and it's not a big surprise that he doesn't score that one. It was an easy save there for the Union netminder, which actually it wasn't Andre Blake in this one. I forgot who is the netminder for the Union in this game. But in the 6 minute stoppage time, Carenza was in on goal there, but he hits that one right to Brady. Again, at this point, defense was not a thing. Like, it was not a thing whatsoever. Both team was going up and down the field, and MLS After Dark has definitely activated in this one. On the other end, Brady would deny Glasnes on the header in the 9th minute of stoppage time, and honestly, Even though we already hit 10 minutes stoppage, I want this game to go 10 more minutes with how crazy it is. But in the end, it did end in a 2-2 draw on this one. Shots in this one, 13 shots for the 10 that the Fire has, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union has. Both team had 3 shots off target, 4 shots that was blocked for the 3 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that the Fire has in this game. And like I said, wild game down the stretch. And I think the result kind of sums up this game, and I think maybe both teams will be happy with this. I mean, I know the Union won't be happy that they drop points again on their season opener. We've seen that happen a couple of times where they always suffer a bit of a hiccup in the beginning of the season, especially at home. But the fact that they show some fight back for a team that could have easily just flat out quit after giving up that lead back to the Fire late in the game, just to show you how this team has that determination under Jim Kern. But for the Fire, I mean, as much as you're happy that you're able to get a point away against a team that doesn't give points away at home very often, again, that same Chicago Fire narrative of them unable to hold on to leads and do some boneheaded play to lose the lead, and also not to mention have big opportunity to win the game but unable to do so. That's got to sting for Fire fans. I mean, on the flip side, I would say that there are definitely problems that I've seen them. I mean, they can short up their defense a little bit. This attack is really scary. I mean, if they are able to penetrate this Union defense with ease at time, I mean, keep in mind this Union defense is one of the best defense in the league for the past couple of seasons. This could be a very fun Chicago Fire team. Just try not to follow what we've seen with old narrative again of somehow find ways to disappoint their fans late in the game and giving up late goals, as we that's been kind of the story for the Chicago Fire for the past decades or so. That being said, moving on into the next game, Minnesota and Austin. So Minnesota coming into this game, no Longwane, no Reynoso, and most importantly, no head coach. But no problem. They are actually the only team so far at the time of this recording to get a road win this opening weekend, getting a 2-1 win against Austin. Now, to be fair, Austin is not a good team. And I think after what we saw in this game, especially what we saw in the first half, it kind of summarized why I and certainly many people have picked Austin to probably finish dead last in the Western during conference, because my oh my, it was one-way traffic in the first half, and if it wasn't for Brad Stuver in the first half, this game could have been out of hand after just 45 minutes. Now, early on, again, one thing I want to mention is that Minnesota was wearing their home kit, so they were wearing those star kind of galaxy kind of look night kit on the road, while Austin was wearing their armadillo away kit at home. And I put a question mark there because it's always weird to see home team decided to wear a road kit and road team wear home kit. I mean, I understand that they wanted to show off their new jersey that they unveiled just a couple of days ago, but it always feels weird that when we see that happen. But that being said, the Loons was definitely on the front foot early with most of the possession. Stuver would then deny Fragapani from close range before Pookie had a shot that was tipped over by Stuver. And then Stuver would deny some bin from the header. It was all Minnesota early in this one. I mean, not only the fact that Austin did not start it on time in this game, but did they even know that the regular season started? I mean, I understand that they are a little short-handed coming into this game because the way that the roster is very thin, and not to mention they don't even have their main player Dreyusi in this one. But my goodness, the fact that they were just like the defense just pretty much collapsed like what we saw last season, and the attack pretty much offering nothing but just turnovers over and over again in the midfield. I mean, it was pretty surprising to see how bad Austin was in the beginning, but also at the same time, pretty surprising to see Minnesota got off to such a good start. I mean, there was a lot of unknown coming into this game. I'm must let you know about this Loons team and their first game under interim head coach Cam Nolas. We don't know if it's going to go well or it could go terribly, especially when they don't have their best playmaker themselves as well. But in the 22nd minute, the post would deny Lud as he was in on goal there, and I am meaning, oh, it's going to be one of those games where Minnesota is it, because I've seen this happen before where it doesn't matter how many shots that Minnesota has put. That problem with finishing has always been plagued this team really for the past couple of years, and I thought, oh, it's one of those games, isn't it, that they're not going to be able to capitalize even though they had numerous opportunity in this game. But in the 20th minute, oh, I actually mixed up the order here. Zardes did had the first shot for Austin, but he hits that one wide. That would be only one of three shots that they had in the first half. I mean, they basically were a no-show in the attack, midfield, or even defense throughout the first half. And then Stuver would deny some bin on the set piece. And again, this would be 3-0 at least for Minnesota if it wasn't for Brad Stuver. And Brad Stuver, I have to feel bad for him because he was just standing on his heads in this one. He was simply bailing out a back line pretty much that was non-existent in this one, and I won't be surprised this might not be the last time that I'll say it about that with Brad Stuver throughout this season. But as it is the case, with the way that Brad Stuver was holding the fort, you can only do so much until finally the dam broke, and it finally broke in the 33rd minute as Robin Lod would score from some bin to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. So great to see Robin Lod back into this team, and he did well to reward him being back in the starting 11 for the first time in almost a year by scoring here. And I remember finally with an exclamation mark and maybe even an exhale too, because I was worried that with all this pressure that Minnesota was doing, it wasn't going to be paying off with a goal. But they got the goal in this in the 33rd minute, and they were looking for another immediately as Ludwood hits one right to Stuver in the 44th minute, and I mean, Austin is just dying for that halftime whistle. I mean, they were praying for that halftime whistle to be blown because it's been an absolute disastrous class. That is, and it's been also a no-show for the Verdes in black at home, and you can even hear it in the fans too. And while the Austin support group were trying their best to bring the vibes in this game, you can hear almost a pin drop besides the supporter group. I mean, the fans, I'm pretty sure they were getting very restless of how the team was playing, and I think maybe I even hear some boos at halftime too, and I don't blame some of those fans. I mean, it was pretty shocking of how bad Austin was in terms of them playing in the first half, but also kind of shocking how good Minnesota was, especially with a lot of question mark heading into this season. Now in the second half, things did started to turn for Austin in a good way as Ethan Finley would puts one right into the Austin supporter group. I mean, if Finley scores there, I would have mixed feelings because of him scoring against his former team, and I won't be surprised he also won't be celebrating because he's been very well loved in the Loons fan base, and not to mention a Minnesota native as well. But I thought Austin definitely looked a lot more lively in the second half, and they have to. I mean, after the disastrous first half they have, it was pretty much nothing but up for this team. And I also thought Minnesota started to look like they drop off their intensity, and this is what I worry about Minnesota, and this is kind of the thing that I've saw with Adrian Heath before, where after getting that 1-0 lead, they think, oh, that's enough. We're gonna go into rogue Heath mode and hope that things is gonna work out. And more times or not, things doesn't work out for this Minnesota team. There was a shout for a penalty for Austin not given in the 62nd minute before Stuver denied Fragapani from close range, and then Rubio had one on the doorstep of goal, but he just could not quite stab that one in. And I mean, looked like Roe Heath mode has been activated for Minnesota, and it's back on the menu because Austin had all the possession. Minnesota was clearly getting pinned deep, and this is where I'm just thinking, oh boy, it's going to be a matter of time before Austin is able to get that equalizer. So, to my biggest surprise, not only that did not happen, but Minnesota actually put this game away as in the first minute of stoppage time. And this is also another thing I did not expect from this team. Youth actually stepped up for this team for once as Alejandro Brand. It's not Alexandro Brand, it's Alejandro Brand, that is. Got to get the name correctly. He scored here from Oluwas CE to give Minnesota a 2-0 lead. Originally, the goal was disallowed for offside, but it was pretty clear when you look on the replay that there was no offside to be found whatsoever. And yeah, just like that, Minnesota gets the 2-0 lead and they put this game away. And that goal actually turns out to be big too, because right as we're about to head to the final whistle, it feels like Minnesota pretty much switched off as we hit the minimum of 3 minutes because Guillermo Barrow would score his first goal for Austin as he scored from Owen Wolf to make it 2-1 in favor of Minnesota. The full-time whistle immediately blown after this goal was scored. So obviously, Minnesota still gets the win, but I'm pretty sure they'll be a little bit disappointed, and especially Dane Sinclair will be a little bit disappointed. The fact that that defense played very well throughout this game, especially in the second half, and they unfortunately let up a goal right at the end. But really, that's the only negative for Minnesota in this one. Big road win in this one. In fact, at the time of this recording, only team to win on the road so far. Uh, in this first week of the season. The shots in this one: 19 shots for the 8 that Austin had, 10 shots on goal for the 2 that Austin had, 2 shots off target for the 4 that Minnesota had. Both teams had 3 shots. That is block and possession wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Minnesota has in this game. And I want to be optimistic about this Minnesota team, and I've definitely saw some positive performance. Though again, I'm going to be a little bit cautiously optimistic about this team because this is Minnesota. They can always throw a curveball, and especially last season they got off to a good start too with a 1-0 road win against another Texas team in FC Dallas. And while they kind of got off to a decent start, it kind of quickly snowball after that. We'll see as the season goes along, but it's definitely a good first step for Minnesota, and especially under new head coach Cameron Knowles. But for Austin, yeah, the hot seat is definitely getting even more warmer now for Josh Wolf after they definitely played better in the second half, but that first half performance was unforgivable. I mean, that was probably, like, I know there are some teams this week that just come out flat straight out of the gate, but I think Austin probably came out the flattest out of any team. I mean, it was quite shocking to see how bad things were for them in the first half. With that being said, well, one of my team was able to get a big road win. The other team that I root for didn't do so, and in fact, the other team that I root for basically did something very similar to what we saw last season. So last season, one of the big issue I have with the Quakes, and one of my big issue with Luchi Gonzalez's team, is the fact that they likes to just bunker and hope and pray that they can get a draw on the road, or seal out a win when they're in the leading position. And while that has worked at times, and maybe part of that is because Daniel just kind of bailing out this team left and right, it doesn't work all the time. And guess what? They try to do the same thing here against Dallas, and to no one's surprise, it did not work whatsoever. And I also would like to say that for a while, I thought this was going to end 1-1, and I did say in my preview that I would, like, if this game ends 1-1, I mean, I would have just said I told you so. And to be fair, we came very close to do so. But again, that narrative about the Quakes, and the one thing that just really drives me nuts about Luchi Gonzalez team of blowing leads late in the game. It happened again in this game as well. Although we got off to a great start, as in the 5th minute, Benji Kikanovic would score to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead. And I would also like to say that this is almost a repeat of the last season opener. Remember when the Quakes played against Atlanta, and how they, of course, got a 1-0 lead early in this one from Jeremy Abovasi, and then they decided to just kind of sit back and hope to pray to hold on to the resort. Yeah, just like that game against Atlanta where they gave up 2 late goals to Thiago Mata. In this one, they didn't do that against Dallas, but again, they did give up a late goal still in this one too. Junka then looked to respond, but he missed wide there. Not much chances really were generated early in this one, as the only shot on goal was actually the goal that was scored by the Quakes. The shots were at 2 apiece 20 minutes in, but then in the 26th minute, Iramandi would score to make it 1-1 in this one. And while it was a great goal there from Asa Iramandi, not great set piece defending. Again, that's been one of the problem, and one of the things that also drives me nuts about the Quakes being poor in terms of set piece defending. And this was another one of them. I mean, they just did not read this play off the training ground that Dallas was going to make, and just like that, the game was tied up at 1 apiece. And then Tafari would hit one right to Daniel in the 28th minute. The momentum was now with the hosts as they pushed for the opener. Farrington would then round the keeper there, but he completely whiffs the shot. Logan Farrington, that's a name you got to remember for the rest of the season, because he made his debut in this game. And I'll tell you what, I know it's early days, but this could be another kid that coming out of college and drafted by Dallas. I mean, everybody talk about Dallas doing very well in terms of producing academy player, but don't forget they also do well in terms of drafting in the super draft as well. And this is a guy that he could be a real deal, especially the performance that he put in this one. And in some way, he was kind of very unlucky not to score a goal in this one. But at the same time, it was all Dallas since minute 10. Like, they were look like they were going to get that second goal, and it looks like it's typical Quakes again. decided to bunker and hope that they can see out a 1-1 draw on the road. Daniel then prevented near own goal there by Kikanovic in the 41st minute. So Kikanovic almost did a Yamar there, decided to score a goal early in the game, and then decided to do it on the other end as well. And then Paz, who were very busy up to that point, he had to deny Espinoza from long range as the shots were 9-2 from Dallas prior to that shot. But we do head to halftime with the score tied up at 1 apiece. In the second half, Kikanovic was in on goal there, but his shot was a weak one that was actually just cleared off the line from Tafari. Espinoza then blasted way high from long range, and I will say that the Quakes did start the play in the second half strongly, but that didn't last. After past Kikanovic in the front post, Sealy puts it high from close range in the 60th minute before Tomasi puts a volley, or Tomasi puts a volley. Actually, that actually doesn't make sense. Actually, it's him put a volley that almost went in, but it didn't do so. And again, Dallas started to get into the second half, and they were looking to try to get the lead. Kamungo then round the keeper, but he hits the side netting. Side note, I wrote this board when the Portland Timbers and Colorado game was going on. So if there's a mistake on this one, I do apologize because I was writing the board while I was keeping an eye on the Timbers and Colorado game that was going on. But as I said, Kumungo around the keeper, but he hits the side netting before Espinoza hits one right to Paz. Daniel then denied Farrington from close range, and then Farrington mishide on the header there as the shots went out 16-8 for Dallas. Sealy would hits one right to Danielle, and really, again, as the time winds down, it is pretty clear that the Quakes were parking the bus. And again, I just have a feeling this is not going to end well whatsoever. Because after Pellegrino would puts it just wide from close range in the 4th minute of stoppage time, the dam finally broke for the Quakes, or at least the bus finally broke for the Quakes. As Dante Sealy would score from Eugene Anso to make it 2-1 in favor of FC Dallas, and that would turn out to be the winning goal. As actually that goal was scored literally in the last second of this game, and yeah, in the end, the Quakes, they lose this one as Dallas come from behind victory to win 2-1 in this game. And mind you, this is a Dallas team that is without their best player in this one in Velasco, and they didn't even had Peta Musa in this game, and even Jesus Ferreira in this game. So that just adds insult to injury for this Quakes team, where this Dallas team, they were playing second string player on the attacking end, and yet they still look like they were overwhelming this Quakes defense. The shots in this one, 22 shots for the 10 that the Quakes had, 9 shots on goal compared to the 6 that the Quakes had. Yeah, safe to say that Daniel tried to steal one for the Quakes, but didn't quite do so. 7 shots off target for the 3 that the Quakes had, 2 shots that was blocked for the 5 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that the Quakes has had this one. And again, my overreaction for the Quakes is that I feel like this is going to be the same and I'm just hoping it's not, because and if this is going to be how the Quakes are going to be playing for the rest of the season, and if this is kind of the strategy that Luchi Gonzalez is going to use for most of the road games, boy oh boy, this is going to be another long season for the Quakes. And I'm going to say what I said before, and I'll reiterate again. Luchi Gonzalez could be a cheap merchant Dom Kinnear if this, of course, continue with them just keep parking the bus on the road and just hope to nick a point or getting all 3 points, only to basically blow up in his face near the end of the game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at these 8 games to start off the opening weekend of the MLS action. I will look at the remaining 6 games, including the Sunday game after the Inter Miami LA Galaxy game finish, which actually is going to be kicking off in just about 20 minutes or so. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of these first 8 games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.